Thank you so much for joining us on the Glutathione Authority Facebook page. We are live. I need to make sure that I have no sound, because I like watching and seeing everybody come on live, which is really amazing. So I'd like to just take a moment to appreciate Franco Cavallari, who actually came on Thursday to talk about Truketo, which is not in front of us right now. But it is an absolutely fantastic product. I totally went and forgot to put it on the table.
But I wear my Truketo shirt.
And he explained how it is that ketosis and ketogenesis work in the body and how the two of them are very different. And I actually didn't have a true understanding of that and how it worked. And I've really next leveled my understanding listening to him talk about how the product works and how the body works. And it really rejuvenated my excitement for the product, even more so than I loved it before. And I already was a big fan of it because, you know, I have time and love and everything invested in that product. But, you know, there's definitely some things which we're going to talk about today that both Alan and I have experienced since getting to meet Franco here and give him space to educate about this amazing product that he created and put into practice, because he has won many major bodybuilding competitions to show that he understands how to create lean muscle to the point where he can win competitions doing so. And so I trust the scientists and their science, but there's something to be said for somebody who actually takes it out into the field and uses it and implements it and proves it themselves, not just handing it to other people to prove it. So
sort of like talk health, be health.
Yeah. So I just want to take a moment to thank him, and we're gonna follow up on that today and talk a little bit more about it, because it was very clear that there were some lovely people who joined us and gave some feedback that helped us to understand people's thought processes around using the product and around how they feel they understand how ketogenesis and ketosis works. So we want to support you guys in that. So Alan Ogden, Mr. Glutathione Authority, is here to really support us from the scientific standpoint, how it is that we can really next level that. And he stands as an authority in doing that because he has a degree in pharmacology, which is actually creating medicine from plants that nature has provided for us. And I was just talking to my friends about this the other day, that the universe really does provide everything that we need. Mother Nature provides everything that we need. And if we learn how to communicate with Mother Earth, then we'll realize just how much medicine she provides at the perfect time that we need it. I'm seeing the purple dead nettle coming up again. And just as clients are starting to complain about allergies.
Yeah. So
it's incredible. Alan also, to support his degree, has 4 nutritional degrees to really next level this understanding how the body implements and needs and utilizes nutrition, and how to balance nutrition, which is really supportive. He also has a degree in energy medicine to really support, balancing our energy body, which more often than not allopathic medicine doesn't really understand or support. So Alan has this phenomenal holistic picture of health. And then when you add 10 years of oncology, geriatric medicine, pediatric medicine, the 5 years he spent helping women create and birth healthy children that grew up with, perfectly healthy lives, not having any of the health and mental challenges that many of the children suffer from today. And then the 40 plus years in the medical industry practicing as a pharmacologist. It's just absolutely amazing, the wealth of knowledge. I like to call him an encyclopedia that this man has. And then on top of that, has probably lectured on excess of 4,000 plus times. So he's been all around the world educating at all sorts of people's beck and call because of the IP that he has. So he's phenomenal at not only having the knowledge that we need, but translating it really well so that all of us laymen can understand what he's saying. So I have a phenomenal amount of respect for his knowledge, but his ability to be able to translate that, which is why anytime that he speaks on a platform, I am happy to either be in the audience listening or be right by his side.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, I just, on my way over here, I got the latest newsletter from the American Society of Pharmacognosy, which is the science of medicine from plants. And they're having a huge conference. And something that's really interesting about this whole medicine from plants idea, of course, it lost a lot of momentum way back when Congress passed a law against teaching natural medicine. But it's picking up steam again, and they expect about 5,000 delegates from different countries to attend this next pharmacognosy event. So that's really cool. And anyway, I'm really proud to be here with Harmony, who does all the technical things, changes our videos into YouTube, puts them on the Glutathione Authority YouTube channel. So if you have somebody who's watching these, there is a YouTube channel that you can go and grab a YouTube of any one of our events and send it by email or any other text it or whatever you want to do for people. But for Harmony and I met because she had a concussion. I got her taking some collagen protein, which she found pain relief with, and then we got her taking, optimizing her glutathione, and her brain lit up, and wow. She took pranic healing, she took emotion code, body code, clinical hypnotherapy, and continues to educate herself. She designed her own program called the Love Magnet. Does it have a longer title?
No.
Just Love Magnet, which is
Love Magnet Program.
The Love Magnet Program, which integrates all of those different modalities into one place. I don't know of anybody else that's doing that. I've met people that do emotion code. I've met people who do body code. I've met people who do pranic healing. I've met people who do clinical hypnotherapy, but I've never met anyone except Harmony who does all of those things together. And then she does all the technical stuff that we need for Glutathione Authority. So thank you so much for all you do and being here. And
you're welcome.
Yeah, just so much fun. So yeah, we have some great things to talk about tonight. Franco was so excited, really. He was like thrilled to be here talking about what he's developed and how it works and how the body, and what I loved about it was sitting beside him. Not only could I feel his excitement, but here's a man who, he practices what he preaches. He practices it. He's his own lab rat, if you will. And, he's sitting here, you can tell that he's been a bodybuilder, you can tell he's won competitions, and it was just so cool. It was a really fun experience. So we're going to have more guests on our...
Yeah, we are going to have some more guests coming up. I don't know if you guys are looking at our beautiful little setup, but there's been, I've made a couple of changes because there's been a couple of additions to my collection. I just had an event with some amazing artisans in my house over the weekend, and there's one particular one. Her name is Wendy Waddle. I actually had her little thing so that I can not forget to say the name, but her name, Wendy Waddle, Wise Woman Arts. She's got this absolutely beautiful little brochure, and there are two stones that are on the table that were hand painted by her. And she does this phenomenal art, and what makes it really beautiful is the way that she paints her stones. It's like Braille. She drops each drop of paint onto the stone and then lifts it and allows it to release. So when you feel it, it's bumpy. And for kids who have autism and ADHD and have a difficult time focusing, they really get attracted to these stones, and they'll literally play with them, and it calms them and it helps them to have something to fiddle with to help them to focus. And she's got two little girls, and so she found that they tended to want to play with them, and other little kids were doing the same thing, and she had the challenge of the stones getting worn down.
No.
And so she had to figure out how to finish them in such a way that they could be played with to support kids and stuff like that. And have the design on them not get worn down. So she's done an absolutely phenomenal job with these beautiful stones. And when you look at where she first started when she was painting them to where she is now,
Oh, yeah.
It is astronomical, the difference between the two. And I really didn't have a true respect for the art until I really got into seeing what she does and the difference from start to finish. And she teaches classes and stuff, so anybody who's in the Vancouver area, I will absolutely share her Facebook page. And if you want to send your kids or even try it yourself, she sells her stuff at all sorts of really great markets and everything. And like I said, she teaches classes, which is an extreme amount of fun. Because you can harvest and collect your own beautiful stones that you think would make a nice canvas and paint on them. So I just wanted to take a moment and really appreciate her artwork, because it's creating the beauty that we get to look at, that are complementing the beautiful setup with the products. And I have to say, it's looking a little bit more spectacular today.
Yeah, it is. It's very pretty.
So, along with Franco, there are a lot of people that are doing these amazing things that are contributing to people that struggle from a place of love. And there's so many different ways that you can do that. And whether it's creating something that's beautiful to look at, or something tactile to touch, or something internally that supports your body. There's so many different ways to support your health. So I just wanted to take a moment and point out one that isn't necessarily one that you would even think of, which is art on stones.
Art on stones. They are really gorgeous too. And that's really cool, because I was going to talk about GAD tonight, and that's one of the things that they recommend for people with GAD, is that they get something to fiddle with.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and it's amazing because it's an earth element.
Yeah.
It's something so incredibly simple that you would probably walk past and not even think about.
No.
Her little girls that are like 5 and 3, I think they are, they go and collect all sorts of stones and then bring them home, and her mom will paint on them.
Oh,
and
cool.
She's done snail shells and tiny little pebbles that they'll bring home. And it's really funny because she told me that when she painted on a pebble that one of them brought home and the snail shell, they both told her she was crazy for painting on them, even though they brought them home for her.
Oh, wow.
It's so cute how she wants to honor them and stuff. It's just fantastic. So I wanted to touch base on ideas and thought process that people have around keto and around how to successfully do that. Specifically, I brought the product out. People who think that they need to have carbs. That I'm one of those people that has to have carbs. So what's up with that?
So really, in reality, carbohydrate is the one food group, unless you're type 1 diabetic, carbohydrate is the one food group you actually don't need. You can do without carbs. Your body has lots of ways to actually fill in for whatever carbs you might be missing. And one of those ways is it actually can take protein. A lot of people don't realize that there's amino acids like glycogen, which is an amino acid, which is made up of 30,000 units of sugar. So if your body was short of sugar and you were just using amino acids, it can take glycogen, break it apart, and boom, you've got sugar in your body. You've got glucose in your body. It can also take fat. And that's what we all hope it will do. Like the idea about burning fat is really kind of a myth in a sense, because fat has to go through this process to get into first a sugar alcohol in our body. So it uses glycerols or some kind of all. It'll end up being some kind of all. When people are looking at ingredients, sometimes they'll see something like a maltitol. This one has maltitol in it. And that's a sugar alcohol. So that actually exists in nature. It exists in your body. It exists in plants. There's lots of them. There's a myriad of polysaccharides and polyols, they're called, that exist in nature and in plants. We make them in our body. So we take a fat, what we know as a fat cell, and we take what's in that fat cell, we take it out, and it can't just burn fat. It has to be changed into something that our body can use. So our lean muscle mass actually can burn it. And that's a sugar alcohol product. I'm being really layman here, just so everybody can understand. That's why sometimes you'll see something like conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA, being promoted as a weight loss product, because right, conjugated linoleic acid is one of the forms that our body changes body fat into, that our cells can use then for energy. And as Frank Franco was saying, we do that every night. Our body goes into not ketosis, ketogenesis. So keep the difference in mind. Ketosis is when we have ketones in our blood. It doesn't really mean anything other than that. Ketogenesis is when we're using those ketones to change into an energy source, and our brain cells are using it. Our brain cells, 38% more efficient at using ketogenesis for fuel than using sugar. So if you're one of those people who are saying, like, I need sugar for my brain, actually you will find that you don't. So yeah, the body has lots of alternative sources of sugar.
The challenge is I found for myself when I was going through the process of doing intermittent fasting and trying to get my body to go into ketogenesis, that I hadn't fasted in so long because I live in a society where I get to eat all the time, that it actually was a little bit of a process to get my body to start releasing its fat stores. And for those of you guys who don't understand the process, first what your body is doing is using the glycogen stores in your liver, so it's essentially going to the fridge to get food. So we do keep stores in our liver which will exhaust themselves when we don't eat. And then what happens is then in order to be able to get any more energy, it's got to go into the fat stores, which are like the freezer down in the basement, which I literally have my freezer in the basement. I don't know how many of you guys do, but usually it's off somewhere that's not so easy access. That's essentially how the body works. And if your body never has to go into the fat stores or the freezer in the basement, and it just has to use a little bit of the glycogen stores in the liver, and then all of a sudden you're feeding it again, your body usually gets used to the idea of having easy access to glucose, either through the glucose you're consuming, the natural sugars or the sugars you're consuming, or the carbs you're consuming that are turning into sugar that your body is then utilizing, that it just never has to go down into the basement. So the challenge here is that it gets lazy. And it actually kind of sort of forgets how to go down to where the freezer even is in the basement. Where is it even? I forgot where I put it. Yeah. I haven't been there in years.
And one of the reasons is we can store just glycogen in our liver. We can store 2 to 3, well, we can store, actually, I'm just trying to convert this to pounds, but we could have easily half a pound or more of glycogen. And remember, glycogen turns into 30,000 units of sugar. We could have that amount in our liver, and then we also store it in our muscle cells and in our tissues. We also store glycogen. So we literally could have 2 or 3 pounds of glycogen storage waiting around for our body to use. We're very efficient at that. And you might notice in the winter, we're getting into spring here, at least in Canada. Our friends in Australia are going into winter. All of a sudden, your body metabolism changes and you tend to start to gain weight. And that's just your body hanging on to, it's putting more glycogen places where it can get it easily, because you're going into winter when food isn't as plentiful, or never used to be as plentiful. Like Harmony said, now it's too plentiful. But your body can store that. So if you translate that into calories, let's say you were burning in it. You decided, I'm going to diet, I'm going to exercise, and you go into that and you reduce your caloric intake a total of 350 calories a day through diet and exercise. And just so you know, it's really like hard to do. If you have something that tells you when you're burning fat, you'll find that, after a big workout and you look at like, okay, I really did this, and it says, yes, you burnt 11% of that energy was actually fat storage, just a little discouraging. But that's what happens to us when we have glycogen in our body. We don't go to the basement. We start burning this glycogen, and you have literally 3, 4, 5 days of glycogen stored in your body before your body will actually get to fat burn. So it's not going to do that right away unless you do something about it.
No, and I found that it actually took me doing fasting for me to literally force that to happen, and even then it was really challenging. So using the Truketo to support that, to give me the energy that I needed and to help kick ketogenesis into gear really made that difference, because the signaling mechanism was there to tell my body to do so when it seemed to forget where the freezer was in the basement on its own. So I found that to be significantly challenging in my 30s. And that was the thing that I was telling Alan when I was going through the process last summer. I was like, I can't believe that it was that hard for me, and I'm in my 30s. So how are people that are in their, 50s, 60s, and so on, what are they going through in order to be able to get that to happen? And I didn't understand that what I was trying to do was get my body into ketogenesis until Thursday when we had Franco on. I actually didn't understand the difference between ketosis and ketogenesis. I just knew that I wanted my fat stores to be used.
Yeah, right?
And it was really challenging to do so. But it's really important for all of you guys to understand how important it is to eliminate sugar sources. Because if you are consuming anything that is sugar or will turn into sugar in your system, you are impeding the body from going into ketogenesis because it will use that as energy. So that means utilizing any type of liquid sugars, honey, maple syrup, there's all sorts of things that people like to use as alternative sweeteners, dates,
dates are
very high in sugar, and your body's going to utilize it. So it can be really challenging. And I know that there were some lovely women who gave some feedback around the idea of struggling on the treadmill, trying to work out without having a little bit of sugar to get them going in the morning, to give them energy. And I just want you guys to know that from my standpoint, as soon as I got my period when I was 16 years old, I started to experience getting really bad anemic attacks to the point where I would black out. I'd get really dizzy and I'd be on the floor shaking, and I would turn into a ghost, and it'd take me, a couple of hours to bounce back from it. It was so bad. I'd completely lose control of my body, and the only thing I wanted to do was lay flat on the floor. And I would overheat, and then I'd be freezing and be shaking and just have no control of my body. And when I was pregnant with my son Winston, I fainted 5 times. I actually found out I was pregnant because I fainted.
Oh, wow.
And I went to the hospital, and they told me I was pregnant, and the doctor who told me wasn't very nice about it because I was 19 years old.
And
I
then
guess
you fainted again.
He figured I was a hussy, exactly. So I am absolutely, and I also have low blood pressure. And I asked the doctor if I could replace my blood pressure gauge, but apparently it can't be replaced like a car. I was super frustrated when he told me that. I was like, can't you just go in and replace it? Isn't it just a part that you just like? He's like, no, you're not a car. And I was like, damn it. So my blood pressure is bad. I have anemia. And so I just naturally, when I stand up or put my arms over my head when I'm doing yoga, I will totally get dizzy. So yoga is really challenging for me, and working out on my exercise machine is really hard for me because I'm getting up and down all the time. And every time I sit up or stand up, I get really dizzy. My blood pressure drops like 10 points when I sit up and 20 from laying down to standing up. So I lose my vision on the regular. So I completely empathize with you ladies that are going through those challenges, and I just want you to know that I took the Truketo on an empty stomach and worked out on my exercise machine eagerly for 2 hours without any challenges, full of energy, without a single dizzy spell, and could have gone for 3 hours, but I actually had to shower and had plans, so I had to go out. But then I had lots of energy for my downtown adventure that I had. And then I went to a concert that night where I was dancing for hours and had tons of energy. Now, I did have breakfast after I worked out, but I've never been able to exercise on an empty stomach without getting seriously lightheaded and almost blacking out and having all those challenges. So I just want to support you guys in really understanding that we can give ourselves an energy source by giving ourselves the Truketo, which is going to get our body into ketosis, which means it's going to give our body the ketones that it needs in our blood to give us some energy to feed the brain. And then what happens is it also triggers the mechanism to get our body into ketosis in perfect ketogenesis, in perfect timing for us to be able to utilize fat stores while we're working out, which is what we want to do, and not burn muscle, which is what those of us who are concerned about that are over 35 years old. So I've been able to successfully do that. And of course, I absolutely love starting my day with a couple of Pro Beta as well to support myself, giving myself a little bit of protein before my workout. And then I will have a proper protein breakfast of eggs, avocado, and bacon to start my day. That's how I go about doing it. And then my dinners, I'll usually have some healthy snacks. And then my dinners are protein and veg. So really avoid, if you're looking to release weight and support your body going into ketogenesis, all non-ketogenic sugars and any carbs and fruit that are going to turn into sugar in your body, and even vegetables too. You want to figure out what your net carbs are. You can do that by going to Keto Karma, which I can post the link for. And then what you want to do is figure out what net carbs you're able to consume, and then keep an eye on that when it comes to your vegetable intake, because those also are carbs and have sugars, and so you only want to have so many because it'll affect it. How late in the day can we take Truketo?
So, well, it depends on what you're doing, but I just want to jump in here. So just for all of you who are watching, on February 7th, I went to the doc and I was going to have my annual physical, and I ended up not having my annual physical because I said to him, I just don't feel really comfortable with myself. I was 181.4 pounds. I'm really not that big. I'm like 5, I don't think I ever hit 5'9". I might have sometime, but 5'8" to 9, somewhere in there, depends on who's measuring. And so, and I don't have the body structure to carry tons of weight around, and it all ends up, hanging out. And people, when I actually told people I was going to lose weight, they were like, "Really? From where?" Well, here I am today. So it's basically 2 months. So February's kind of a short month there. So February 7th, I started this program, and I said to my doctor, so I'm going to come back after I'm done losing some weight, releasing it, getting rid of it. I'm going to just put it out there into the ether where some poor person who wants to gain weight and is really skinny can have it. They can pick it up and take it and use it. But so today I'm 160 pounds on the nose, so 21.4 pounds that I've released. And I'm surprised by that. I'm literally surprised by that because I still have some patches of body fat that I really don't like the look of. So I really don't know, and as Harmony said, I wanted to do that without losing muscle mass. You want to have more muscle mass. So what the doctor shared with me, and I ended up going to this really great naturopath. We might have him on the show someday, Dr. Ryan Uhtred. And we had a talk about me being 66 years old and losing weight safely, preserving my lean muscle mass, keeping my heart function great, all that kind of stuff. And we've been able to do that. So Truketo, so my morning starts off with Truketo, 20 grams of protein, and a spoon of oil. So you can use olive oil if you want. I happen to use Udo 369 oil. I really like it. It's a vegetable oil. I really like it. And we had Udo Erasmus. We're going to have Udo Erasmus back on a show to talk about fats that heal, fats that kill once again. But that's my breakfast. And literally, I will go and work out. So today, I had that. It was raining a little bit. I waited for the rain to stop. Then I went out for my run. And I went for my run. I literally, every time I've gone for a run, I've cut the time down and increased the distance, both. So here it's so amazing because when you're on a diet, generally speaking, you're out of energy. That's one of the things that people go off diets is because they don't have the energy to go about their daily, whatever they need to do, go to work for a number of hours and come home and clean the house and make dinner and look after the kids and help them do homework, etc., etc. So there's a lot of reasons for why people just have to put dieting or losing weight or managing their weight off into a corner somewhere. So I said to him, this is one of the things, like, really, I want to improve my fitness at the same time that I'm actually losing the body fat and not lose lean muscle mass. And he's like, wow, anything else you'd like for Christmas? I mean, really, that's kind of what he said to me. You know, like I'm sitting on his knee like he's Santa Claus. However, that's exactly what I've been able to do. Not only have I lost the body fat, I've actually gained some lean muscle mass, and I have energy, just amazing amounts of energy. It's really worth the time to make the switch. Now, one of the things that he told me is for people that are 50, 60 years old, and I know there's lots of you out there that are in that range that would like to lose weight, and maybe even some of you who are in your 40s. What he said to me is, you've probably been on a diet before. Many people have been on a diet before at some point in their life. Maybe they've been on lots of diets. So we've got to deal with your psychology and your physiology at the same time. We have to get your body to now finally understand this is what you're going to do and this is the way you're going to be. You're going to stay this way. And, you know, we have some good examples of people who've done that. Mary Lou Westcott, who's often posting on Facebook about her journey, you know, losing a human. She lost a human. She was carrying an extra human around with her. But he said to me, so we need to change the psychology, and how you do that is you schedule your meals and you stick to that schedule. So he literally had me, Harmony knows, because I was eating every 3 hours. I had a certain amount of food to eat every 3 hours. And the reason we were doing that was to change the brain from thinking, oh no, here's another diet, this guy's just gonna beat me up, lose some weight, and then we're gonna go back to the same old thing. So I'm just gonna hang on to the weight because what the heck, why go through that process again? We wanted to change the physiology to understand, no, we're doing this, there's ample food, we're not gonna run out of food, I'm not gonna be hungry, and so it took literally a few weeks of me being very rigid about that. And in there was my birthday, my 66th birthday happened in there, and I had a shake for my birthday. That was I did not have a treat on my birthday. I didn't treat myself. I had a shake for my birthday because I was on this very strict regimen and I wanted to make that change. And now that I'm where I am, and I can get up and take my Truketo and I can go for a run, or I can go to the gym and work out. I can work out for an hour, like work out, and I forget to eat. I literally forget to eat now. It's so amazing to me, the transition from before, and just go back to January or go back to Christmas when, you know, couldn't snack enough, you're always kind of hungry, snack before you go to bed, you know, I didn't want to wake up in the night and want to eat, to go from that to, oh my gosh, I gotta remember to eat. I gotta remember to eat. So there's two things I think that people need to understand that are going on when you're making that change. And you gotta be committed to this change. You've gotta see yourself through and give yourself the time to see yourself through so your body actually understands, no, this is the new me. This is who I'm gonna be. This is who I wanna be. And your body will adapt to ketogenesis very easily. The energy now is so smooth and so beautiful. It's really amazing. Once you're in that condition, I can't imagine going back to eating ice cream and chocolate bars and crackers and stuff I ate before. Like, I can be around it. I literally walk by a donut shop pretty much every day. And I have no desire, where before I'd be like, maybe I should, you know, whatever. But I really don't have any desire because I feel so good. My brain and my body like each other, if I can, you know, put it that way. And maybe, do you have a better way to put that? But your brain and your body actually are getting along. You're like, no, it's okay, it's good. We're good. We don't need a donut. We don't need that. So
it really comes from, it's really interesting because when I'm working with clients and they get to a place of self-love and they start to communicate with their heart, and they don't have what I call a heart wall. A lot of people have heart walls. They're actually not really hearing themselves, and their heart's not able to speak to them to the point where it can actually tell them that they're harming themselves. So self-harming can happen so much easier, but once you're in that place of self-love and you're really taking care of yourself, all of a sudden you get to that place where you're like, that's gonna hurt me. I just don't want to do that.
Yeah, and I like the term self-care. You know, it's just self-care, and And
and it's more effortless, right?
oh, it's way more
Like it's
effortless.
just natural to want to do that now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's absolutely natural. I'm so shocked because I have, well, when I was like Harmony's age, a little younger, but I was in my 30s, I was running, and I was running 30 to 50 miles. That was just when we were starting to get kilometers in Canada. And so for those of you who know, we just have to run more kilometers than we used to have to run. The number just has to be bigger. But 1.6 kilometers per mile. So here I was running like 50 miles a week, and my cholesterol was terrible and I was gaining weight. And I couldn't understand it, but I was on a zero-fat diet. And so I did the switch back then to what is fondly known as the Atkins diet, which a lot of practitioners still to this day kind of gasp when you say you want to do a diet of that sort, because they don't understand the process. But literally I went on that. I lost 33 pounds back then. My cholesterol completely normalized itself. Everything in my life was different. And then I kind of lost that because, the stresses of life and doing whatever we were doing and new business and all that kind of stuff just kind of got in the way. And so I understand that. But, I guess here's where I've come to in my life is that either I take care of myself or I'm relying on somebody to take care of me who really doesn't have a vested interest in me. Their vested interest is in serving another master, usually the pharmaceutical companies or food companies or somebody else. So they really aren't that interested in me as a healthy, vigorous, ongoing person. I have to take that responsibility myself and do the things that I need to do and get the information I need to get. And I've been able to do that. And, I'm so fortunate that I have this amazing partner sitting beside me who has taken midnight phone calls from me when I'm like, wanting to tear a bed sheet apart out of frustration and stuff. But, I think it's really, now that I'm through all that and I'm where I am, it's like you're on cruise control, really. It's so cool. It's such a great feeling. So what Franco said, what we said, our own personal experience, we're using the product, we're doing it, and we're finding the results are there. So when people say to us, no, I've tried that, it doesn't work, then there's something you're not doing. The product works. It's been clinically proven. I was in the lab when Dr. Cat, when he was pulling, well, he had like 10 people, they were pulling blood every 20 minutes and checking their blood sugar and whatever, and blood sugars were going down. Ketones were going up. Now, once again, ketones don't mean anything till ketogenesis happens, and for that to happen, blood sugar has to go down. So we've experienced it. It's been delightful and fun, and I feel really good at 160 pounds. I have a real goal in mind for what I want to look like physically, and now I get to work on that. And it's fun to go to the gym and go, you know what? I'm getting to reshape myself. I'm doing this because I'm not doing it because I'm afraid of getting unhealthy. I see lots of people running, and it's like they're trying to run from a heart attack, or they're trying to run from something. Right? They're trying to escape something. They're like,
there's a lot of people who are escaping trauma by running.
Yeah, or working out, or you go to the gym and there's some guy there that is my size, but he's 300 pounds of lean muscle mass. That's not normal, and his heart will be shrunk and all that kind of stuff. So but just to be able to go, wow, I get to reshape my body, and it responds. Like at 66 years old, your body responds. It's like, okay, I really like this a lot better. This is fun. Let's go to the gym and have a workout. Let's do that. So anyway. It
was really interesting. Franco was talking about when he was in competition, just how phenomenally unhealthy he was just before competition and just after competition. Most people don't realize the extremes that they have to go to get competition ready. They actually will, they will drink phenomenal amounts of fluids just before competition because it actually forces their body to literally release it all so that they can dehydrate themselves to extreme levels so that their muscles will expose themselves that much more. And they will fast for a period of time. So the state that their body is in, he said that he felt quite sick a couple of weeks leading up to competition and a couple of weeks coming out of it. And they actually have to take a break every couple of years, and they're not allowed to compete, or because they literally, the damage that they do getting into that state. And I just had a girlfriend who just won Miss Bikini USA. And I know what she had to do to get to that state, and now she's going to have to recover a little bit. And the way that she looks day to day to how she looks competition day is vastly different.
Oh, no kidding. They're
Usually by about 25 pounds.
They're two different people.
Yeah.
Completely two different people.
It's phenomenal. So I really want to support you guys in really understanding, you know, when it comes to health, that you can be you can be extremely unhealthy when you're pushing yourself to those extremes, when you're working out all the time, like 3 hours a day, and you're taking roids, and you're taking all of these unhealthy supplements, and you're depriving yourself. But you can also be that unhealthy when you're obese and you're feeding yourself all sorts of sugars and you know, abusing your body. So both are, you know, potentially types of abuse. Obviously, competition bodybuilders are only doing it for a very brief period of time, just for that competition, and then they go back to a healthy weight, which is usually resting about 20 pounds heavier than their competition weight. But it's just really good to go on a journey to get to know what is right for you. What body weight should you be at in your prime? And how does your body feel when it's in its prime? And really the goal is, hey Tanya, she's the one that was making all the lovely comments on Thursday. How is it that your body functions when it's in its prime? What do you want to be able to do with your life? Think about how you want to be with your kids. Think about how you want to be with your grandkids. And if you're finding yourself being in a place where you're really struggling to eat healthy, what is it that you're trying to replace with food? Because our parents, unfortunately, gave us sugar to reward us and to soothe us. And so a lot of us actually have a really dysfunctional relationship around food. And if we move away from our families, a lot of the time to get that feeling of love that we did when our families would treat us with a hot fudge sundae and all that kind of stuff, we'll tend to self-soothe with food to try to create that feeling, because you do get a dopamine release. There is an actual chemical release that's happening when you're consuming sugar. It is a drug. So it's really important to create a self-love vocabulary around that and replace those feelings that you're trying to create when you're consuming the sugar and the sweets and stuff by doing those self-loving things that are going to support you. And if there is a particular reason that you're carrying a physical barrier, which is what I call the weight, there is a lot of times we're creating a physical barrier and we're protecting ourselves from something. In my mother's case, she's over 300 pounds. And the reason that she's carrying that weight is because she was abused for 17 years growing up. So her whole childhood was abuse. And of course, she was terrified of attracting men. And so she kept the weight on because it kept her unattractive to men. Men didn't notice her. And then I remember at one point, she lost 100 pounds and guys started hitting on her at the grocery store. And she immediately put the 100 pounds back on like it was nothing but a thing. Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
The second she realized that she was sexually attractive to men, that was it. She just put the weight back on and that was the end of it. And she never lost the weight again. I only saw her, you know, somewhat healthy weight once in my life. And she's never gotten over the trauma that she suffered or anything like that. And so she just stays that way. And so if you're aware of the fact that this is something that you don't feel like you have control of, what you're putting in your mouth, and it's emotionally driven and there's some things that you need to work on, then I absolutely encourage you to go and talk to the right person that's going to be able to love and support you into releasing the emotions that you need to release to be able to release the physical barrier. And I really want to give Alan a lot of praise and support, because I want you guys to get that he's done this work. He's done the healing work. He's and been on the path for as long as I've known him, constantly resolving and healing and flowing the energy and making amends with things and hitting emotional tripwires and then talking through it and doing the work and healing it, so that now he's in a place where he can release the physical weight. And I know that you've talked to me about this before. When you have put on weight, you're like, it's emotional.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, people, I mean, I've never told my real story. I don't know if I ever will. You know, Harmony's probably the only one that knows that I have a scar here. You can see that scar is literally a blade scar that was so sharp it was just actually touched to my skin. No moving motion, but it left a scar. And so you can imagine the rest of that story. But before I was 21, I had more trauma in my life than most people will have in a whole lifetime. And so there's been some struggles for sure about stuff. And one of the things that I would go to is sugar, you know, just as a comfort food. I mean, it was just easy. And then, you know, my grandma, like she would give us treats, and like Harmony says, we're rewarded generally for good behavior and things. We're rewarded with treats and sugar, or we're around our family and we celebrate birthdays, we celebrate anniversaries, and we celebrate all these things, and we always do it with food. We always do it with food. That's one of the things that Dr. Uhtred and I had a conversation about, is the fact that, you know, in our society, we celebrate with food. And it's not that I'm not going to eat anything anymore. Like I have something on Wednesday. I have a workout from 4:30 to 5:30, and I have a meeting later that night. I already know what I'm going to eat between my workout and that, because, you know, here I am. I'm like, okay, so before I wouldn't think about that. I would just grab anything and eat it and whatever, and it would be a lot of something that wasn't good for me. But, you know, now that I thought about it before, it's like, okay, there's a little window of time there I need to eat. I already know what I'm going to eat in that space of time. I already know what it's going to be, and I know what it's going to feel like to do that, and how good I'm going to feel about myself for doing it and having that control. I think one of the times Harmony and I were talking about, when you actually make the decision and you do what I've done, you feel so much control in your life. It's amazing. So if you feel that control about your own body and things, how much other things can you control in your life? Emotional things, decisions you make. And I just want to give a shout out to some of my supporters though. Like Darren Grosnick, who's been a tremendous support to me. Darren's a natural bodybuilder, has not filled his body with all the things that we see other people doing. He's just a great friend. You know, I've texted Darren late at night sometimes as well, just saying, hey bud, just need to hear your voice. And he always sends me hearts and love and all this kind of stuff. But he's just, I really wanted to give him a shout out for doing that. Darren, you know, hasn't seen the final. I haven't actually showed anybody but Harmony the final person that I want to look like, because, you know, that's just for me to get in my mind and work with. So just briefly, I just want to touch on this because I think it's so integral and important for people who are older. That dividing out the food, it was so. I got angry actually at the doc for saying to me, so this is what we're going to do with your food. You're only going to eat X amount of calories, and I'm not going to tell you anything about calories because I think for each individual it might be different. This is what you get to eat, and you have to eat that every 3 hours, and don't you miss. I'm like, I was really upset with that, and he said, so, you know, when you're upset right away, like, why? You got to ask yourself, why am I upset? Because what, it's going to take a month, or it's going to take 2 weeks. We don't really know. Maybe it's going to take a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and your body all of a sudden connects with your brain or your heart, like Harmony said, and it gets it, and it gets it, and you can feel when it gets it. It's like, oh no, I get it. I get it. Like I get it throughout my whole being that the switch has been made. I can live like this. I can do this. I can achieve. Now, I'm not going to say I didn't have more struggles after that, but that came from the next struggles came from just that. I love what he said to me is you've got to find things you love to do, and that that you're not going to get tired of. And I think that's a challenge for most people because they really don't know what they love to do as far as exercise and as far as making their body work. They really don't know what they love to do. But I do remember when I was running before, and I loved it. I loved being outside. I loved being in the sunshine. I've run in the rain. I ran this afternoon before I came here. And I love it. I love running by the ocean. I had that opportunity when I was running before. I was running out in flat Alberta. And you know, I used to say to people, one of the great things is if my dog ran away, I could see it, you know, 3 miles down the road. It's just flat. There was nothing there to, you know, except trees and whatever to inspire you. But now I have lots of things to inspire me. So, you know, finding things that you can do. Harmony, I would not think would be a runner. That wouldn't be something she would choose to do for lots of reasons. Donna, my wife, would not be a runner. But to find something you like to do and then go to yourself, be able to say to yourself, well, you know what, I can do that. I can do that. And so all these little things that he made me write down as successes, well, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. And all of a sudden it became this program, and I was reframing my whole, you know, reframing myself. And it really didn't take, when I think back now, February 7th to August 9th, what a tremendous change has happened for me. And this has been so integral in that, because I had none of the, I took this, all this stuff, I took, you know, to the doc as well. We went through all my supplements and stuff that I'm taking and proteins and everything. He loves Provita, by the way, like I do. And we did it, I wasn't gonna miss a step here, because this is me and my health and my life. So it was about, I'm gonna say maybe 4 to 5 weeks of real sort of whatever, and then boom, it was like, I got it, I get it. And
but what's really important to acknowledge is just why you're in a place to be in control and to be where you are, and you know why it's so easy for you to make self-loving choices, because I know what it's like to be on the other side of the camera, essentially, or to be watching TV or whatever, and to be listening to people that are really fit and people that are telling you to make all these healthy choices and all these, you know, fad diets and all these different things, and to be watching the healthy people on the TV and to be going, I want to be like that. And my diet, you know, consumed of bagels and cheese and chocolate and cereal in the morning, and I didn't have the first clue, and I had this mother who was incredibly overweight, and I felt completely lost. And I wasn't able to see clearly to make the right food choices from the dysfunctional, self-loathing place that I was in. And I was not able to literally see clearly to learn and to make the right choices until I got through the emotional trauma and everything that I had suffered from my childhood, because all the decisions that I were making were coming from a place as I was running from being like my mother. I was terrified of being overweight. I was absolutely terrified of being overweight like my mom. And so I was just running from that and starving myself and doing things that were very unhealthy from a diet perspective. And I yo-yoed from the time that I was 18 years old until I was 30. And the only way that I was able to keep control of my weight was because I like to get viruses that help me lose at least 10 pounds every time I get sick.
You do.
So every time I get sick, I'd come out of the virus 10 pounds lighter, and I'd be looking really great. But my diet and the way that I was living, because I didn't know how to eat properly, I would end up putting on weight again. And so I was yo-yoing anywhere between, I think at my lightest, I was 143 pounds, and my heaviest, I was 195 pounds.
Wow.
Just to give you an idea of the range.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was, you know, about 30 years old that I finally started to figure out how to get my weight to the 155 to 165 pound range. And I've been sitting in that range for 10 years now. And when I made that switch from running away from trying to be trying to be the opposite of my mother, trying to not be like my mother, to what does Harmony need? What does my body need? How does my body function? And then, of course, getting into the car accident and having the severe concussion, I had to next level my understanding of what my body needed to heal, because my brain wasn't functioning. And the doctors and everything weren't supporting my healing process. They were just prescribing me drugs for the symptoms I was experiencing. So it really put me on a path to get to know Harmony, because the fad diets, all of them, name any of them, the wheat belly fat diet, what is it? The wheat belly diet, and the Atkins diet, and the bikini beach diet, and the California diet, and the Mediterranean diet, and the ketogenic diet, and all the diets are just guidelines trying to help you to create a healthy body that worked for somebody.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But what we really encourage and support is you going on this journey to get to a place of self-love and spending time being introspective, which means turning your energy inwards and getting to know you. And when I was talking to Franco, being the brilliant man that he was, he said that he worked with all sorts of professionals that were very successful in bodybuilding competition, and they would tell him what to do to lean out and to get healthy, but he wasn't successful in winning his competitions until he figured out what worked for Franco, how Franco leans out, how Franco maximizes his muscle. And he was saying that his wife does exactly the same thing, follows all sorts of professionals and personal trainers and all these different people. And what the real secret is getting to know what she needs in order to be able to optimize her health. And this is what Alan's talking about, is going on his own journey to discover what exercises he is in a place of bliss and joy doing, what he enjoys doing, and figuring out how his body optimizes its health with the right foods. Yes, there is absolutely science around how our body utilizes nutrients and what are the best nutrients for us. And it's really important to pay attention to that. The keto health plan was created by science for children that had epilepsy. So there is absolutely a phenomenal amount of science backing it up, and it goes back 3,000 years, which is amazing. So utilize that, but at the same time, go on a journey getting to know you. What exercises do you love doing? What's fun for you? Where are you going to be in your joy and in your bliss doing this stuff? Whether it's playing in the forest and going for a hike, which I love doing because I bring my camera and I love taking pictures and being in nature. It feels so good. And that's exercise, and I don't feel like I'm exercising. I love playing on my total gym. It's super fun for me. And it doesn't feel like I'm exercising even though I totally am. I love going for walks. I love dancing for hours and hours and hours. I won't stop until the music stops. That's exercise, but I sure as do not feel like I'm exercising. I'm playing. So what is it that you love to do where you get your body moving, but you're actually really enjoying it? I know John Buswood, who just popped on, loves kayaking.
Yeah.
He is always in his boat. I'm always seeing pictures of him booting around in his kayak and taking all sorts of stunning pictures of the city. So it's very clear that one of his favorite things to do to exercise is to sit in his boat and to paddle around, which is a phenomenal exercise for your arms and your core and your legs, because you've got to anchor yourself to the boat. It's a great exercise. So really, obviously, eliminate sugars, eliminate things that turn into sugars in your body, get to know how to support your body getting into ketogenesis, not just flooding your body with exogenous ketones, which we learned about with Franco, and we're super grateful for that knowledge. And figure out how it is that your body works. Go on a journey to get to know your own body, because that's the most important thing. We want you to get in touch with yourselves. And then go and play and try all sorts of physical activities and do what it is that feels like you're playing. Not so much getting exercise, because if it feels like exercise, you're not necessarily going to do it, right?
That's right. If it feels, if you can't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. And as we wind down here, I do have some people I want to shout out to. I put on our thing about SAAD and GAD, and so I was just really, really inspired this last week by Carson Daly from the Today Show. I just want to give him a shout out. Carson Daly for actually talking about his struggles with anxiety and what that meant and all the things he's gone through. He was inspired by Kevin Love from the NBA, and Kevin Love was, played on the scene. He played on the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James. Kevin went through a total breakdown in the dressing room. Didn't understand what this anxiety condition that he had, GAD, General Anxiety Disorder. Sarah Wilson, who's a best-selling author, she's a really cool person. She's written a book on the journey of anxiety. And then, to my biggest surprise, Michael Phelps, who recently was interviewed about his struggles. We all know that, you know, he won a bunch of awards and he got a DUI and whatever. What he, in his interview, he was telling people is he just didn't want to live. He had no reason to live. And he was just so anxious. He had this overwhelming anxiety. And so I was really inspired by their stories this past week. It's a real thing, general anxiety disorder. You know, no question that, you know, having all the things go on in my life that went on, certainly that's something that I have struggled with. Maybe we'll talk about that at some point. But I did want to shout out anybody that's out there, if you are a person who's having panic attacks or who's feeling anxious or angry or whatever because you don't know why, I'm going to strongly suggest you look up Carson Daly from the Today Show, listen to his story, and he will lead you to all the other people that he's interviewed. It's a big thing now that down in New York, they're having an actual day to bring people together and talk about general anxiety disorder and what impact that's had on people's lives. So anyway, I wanted to give that shout out.
It's so beautiful that people are talking about that, because I live with somebody who struggles with that and is a huge proponent for that in her arena, and she's actually done many events to speak out about that, and has been on platforms where she's been able to support people that are looking for work in arenas, and been able to stand up and say that I struggle with this myself, and I'm here to tell you that you can completely carve out a life for yourself and be successful, even though you have this going on. It's a matter of seeing the right people to get support and learning how to work within the parameters of what is right for you, so that you can manage it when it does hit you. So I have the pleasure of being able to live with somebody that struggles with that, and she really strives and is very successful in the arena that she is in. So to see other people that are out there and are in a public forum that are hugely successful and in the public eye, speaking out about it and talking about it is beautiful.
Long overdue. I
really appreciate that they're calling themselves out. I also, talking about calling people out, my friend Oscar J just popped online, and he's somebody amazing who was actually diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. He was diagnosed with cancer and type 2 diabetes shortly thereafter.
Wow.
And he's an absolutely amazing story, because he's one of those people, when he was diagnosed, completely changed his lifestyle. He was constantly being given sugar by all of his clients. They were giving him all sorts of baked goods. He's a mechanic, and his clients loved him so much that they were always bringing him yummy sweets on a regular basis, literally killing their mechanic. Yeah. And he was going through exorbitant amounts of pop when he was at work, not understanding how bad it was for him as well.
For the Americans, that's soda.
Yeah, so he actually started walking to and from work every day. He was walking on average 25 kilometers a day to and from work, and going for another walk in the evening after dinner. He lost 90 plus pounds, and he was diagnosed with the diabetes because he actually started to lose his vision. That was the first indicator, which is not typical for a first indicator. But he was able to reverse the cancer and reverse the type 2 diabetes through completely changing his diet and eliminating sugar, and then getting extremely physically active. And it is amazing to see him popping on live, and I consider him to be a very good friend, and he's a phenomenal example of, you know, being proactive, and the second that he got the information, doing exactly what he needed to do to change his lifestyle so that he could still be here, you know, taking care of people's cars. And he made each and every one of his clients understand that if they truly loved him, that they would give him sugar-free treats. And they all very quickly figured out how to bake sugar-free, keto-friendly goods.
That's so cool.
And they actually were bringing him stuff that he could eat. So it's just a matter of communicating with those clients. If you do have clients that like to bring you treats, what it is that you like and love, and if they love you, they will accommodate you so that you can continue to serve them for a long time. So I just wanted to take a moment. Oh, and John Buswood was just in Thailand, and if you guys haven't had the opportunity to pop onto his Facebook newsfeed to see the amazing journeys that he was on, They just did a grand opening for the Visa office in Thailand, and it is beautiful.
Yeah, spectacular.
Oh my gosh, I wish I could have gone to see it, but it wasn't open yet when I was in Thailand. But if you guys get an opportunity to pop onto John Buswood's newsfeed, the photos around all of the gorgeous people that he was hanging around, the last get-together that they had, and the beautiful outfits. Did you see the outfits they were wearing?
Yeah, especially, you noticed.
Oh.
And John, particularly.
Yeah,
I
John
noticed you,
was
John.
wearing
You
a really
stood out,
nice
John.
Thai suit.
You had a really, really great outfit. Sorry, you still don't look Thai. The outfit
Very
was awesome.
white, very white.
Yeah.
He has a nice tan though.
Yeah.
But those outfits were gorgeous, and I really appreciate everything that you were sharing, because my head is still in Thailand, and getting the opportunity to see those photos and live vicariously through you just a little bit longer was absolutely spectacular. So I really appreciate you sharing all the great news about what's going on in Thailand and Visa, and to see all of those Thai peoples, particularly the one that had the Visa carved in his hairline. Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
So we're having a special guest next week.
Talk about dedication. The 15th, we have a special guest to be announced. I'm not going to say anything. You're going to have to wait to see the bio and the poster that are going to be posted. Is going to be joining us to talk about something that I was not passionate about until I actually had a client that was suffering so much, and I hit my wit's end with her in regards to how I could support her. And then I met this absolutely amazing man who is laser targeted in his arena and is absolutely an expert, and he actually really helped me to help my client, and he is now a part of my program. So when people pay to enroll in my program, he is a part of that package. It's that integral to our health. And it's something that we don't know about, but we should know about. And I know we've touched base about it, but now we're going to bring on an expert in this arena. I'm not going to tell you anymore. You're just going to have to wait to see the poster and the bio, and then you're going to have to join us for our next live event to see who this handsome, strapping young lad is and what he's going to have to say. You're going to want to join us. He's a hottie. Seriously.
Yeah.
My goodness. So I really, really appreciate each and every one of you for joining us. Please share this knowledge. It's open source for any of you guys who aren't on Facebook. Like Alan said, you can share the information on YouTube. I will share the link on there, and you can just go and steal that link and share it with any of your friends that don't have access. I really appreciate all of you, and we'll see you again next week. Love you. Bye.